Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hardwood, where we discuss all things basketball and all things today, include Game 1 and 2 of the NBA Finals. We will be recapping this and joining me today is TJ Trumaine Jenkins. TJ, let's start with Game 1, man. We both watched it, we both saw everything that went down. The Both teams played rather well, but I think you'll agree with me. It all comes down to execution, where the Golden State made all the right passes, they made all the shots. Cleveland got themselves in position, shot themselves in the foot every time, ended up getting blown out in the end, box score wise. You can't shoot yourself in the foot like that. It's like, how do you think Game 1 started out when it came to the competitive nature of the game?
Well, I'll probably say game one in the first half was actually started out very good for Cleveland and Golden State. It was very physical for the first half. Um, as far as physicality and what did we want to see in that finals. However, when it got to the third quarter, that's where Golden State prevailed, and I believe Golden State in the third quarter defensively showed up to play.
Yeah,
That
and
that's how you show up to play in defense. That's how you play the defense.
Golden State in Game 1, they won with a blowout, 113-91. Kevin Durant was the X factor with 38 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. And this is what I said during the preview, that Kevin Durant would be the X factor in this series. And in Game 1, and especially in the first half, LeBron James became the first player in many years to have a double double in the first half. And he almost had a triple double in the game with but the only problem was that triple double almost ended up being with 8 turnovers. I mean, he almost got a triple double with points, rebounds, and turnovers. And one of the things that I noticed was he was trying to pass when he should have shot. He was trying to shoot when he should have passed. And let's face it, Kevin Durant played excellent defense. He's played excellent defense the entire series. And when he was matched up on LeBron, LeBron really wasn't getting that much done. So, what do you think about the one-on-one matchup between those guys in Game 1?
Um, Honestly, in that matchup, that pretty much shows that maybe LeBron cannot guard Kevin Durant. You gotta think that Kevin Durant hasn't been in the finals for what 5 years when he was playing with OKC. So people get better when you look at the game and how the game was flowing. It was really flowing when it hit the third quarter. It was just flowing in Golden State favor. And let's be honest. Um, when you have when you have 8 turnovers by yourself, you're like with all the good stats that you do have, like you have LeBron James has 25, 15, 8, 2 blocks. He was 45% for the field, but he has 8 turnovers. It's critical. It's very critical,
Yeah, and
especially when your team leads. When your team's had 20 overall 20 turnovers.
yeah,
Golden State, if Golden State get that many turnovers, they are going to win because they have the shooters to shoot. So any bad turnover is a good thing for Golden State because they can always react to it with their shooting. And let's face it, Game one. Kevin Durant was very hot. He was on a roll, almost averaging a triple double. He had no turnover whatsoever. He was 50% for threes. He was 87% from the free throws, and from the field he was 53.8%. Like like that's that's a very good game. He only missed what 12 shots.
Here is the that I wanted to uh the Cavs. Not only did they have 20 turnovers, they had no steals, they had no takeaways. The
Exactly.
and you add that to Kevin Durant's game and Golden State, they were moving the ball. They were passing the ball like it was nobody's business. They were moving. They were always on the move. Cleveland was flat footed. They were running their same offense, the stagnant one. Golden State was full of energy. They were full of drive. And this is what we didn't see last year out of Golden State. This is what we barely saw when they won the championship.
True,
Was the
true.
movement. They were always standing around. They were relying on their shooters. This year, with Kevin Durant driving to the lane all the time, moving around and everything, you're really seeing a different Golden State team, a different dimension. And, it's not just the group of, bleh, just, hey, let's stand around and watch Stephen Curry shoot 30-foot three-pointers. And I think that was a huge impact on game one. Now, the let's go to game two, where this one was a little bit different. Cleveland had better execution in this game than they did in game one. Now, I did the game. I only saw a bunch of highlights, a bunch of videos on it. You saw the game. Now, if
Well,
you see in the game, we have Stephen Curry had a triple double. LeBron James had a triple double. Everybody in this game was having a triple double. This was a triple double fest.
hmm
Then you look at Cleveland. Who else? Kevin Love had 27. I've been a Kevin Love fan for as long as he's been in the league. Kyrie Irving had 19, but as you stated, he came on late in the game. Then you go over to Golden State. As you mentioned, Stephen Curry had a triple double. Kevin Durant, 33 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 5 blocks, 50% from 3, 59% field goal. Draymond Green had 12, Klay Thompson had 22. The scoring was much more evenly balanced than it was here in game one. And you could tell with the Cavs winning 132-113. What did you take away from Golden State's win over Cleveland in this, not only this game but in both games really?
well, if you look at both games, it's two things. Two things I can take away from it. One, Golden State bench play. Golden State is having a better bench play than Cleveland Cavaliers. There are. There's a lot of people that are determined. Like they're really determined to get this championship. Like they're really determined. Like they've been having the better bench play. They've been having the better play around the bench. They're scoring around the bench. They're playing defense around the bench. The bench doing their job. And you literally cannot ask for anything ever, for anything in the world to have, but a better bench play, and that's what is being executed. And number
Yeah,
two, I would say again, defense from the players itself. We looked at Cleveland this whole year. Cleveland defense has been missing this whole year, this whole season actually. And you cannot go into Golden State, go into that arena without fighting back. You have to fight back. And so far, I have not seen a fight back in Cleveland yet. I have not seen a fight back.
yeah. The Cleveland, they didn't fight back in game one. They didn't have. I mean, obviously, I mean they've given up 100 over 110 points in the last game. They gave up over 130. So their defense definitely is not there. And I'm gonna go back and look at some game two stats here. The Despite the individual stats, I'm gonna look at 20 assists for Golden State. 11 of those from Stephen Curry. 6 were from Kevin Durant. So that's 17 assists from Stephen Curry, who is your team captain, and Kevin Durant, who may, at this point, Paul Pierce called him the best player in the world right now on ESPN. The the people around him at that table were calling him crazy. They're all denied it. Well, right now, this final, I called Durant the best player in the NBA before it started. Kevin Durant right now is proving me and Paul Pierce right that he is the best player in the league. Right now, he is dominating LeBron James, which is something you had never thought you would see in a million years. Yet, he's not just doing it scoring, he's not just doing it defensively. He also had 8 assists in game one, 6 assists in game two. That's 14 assists in 2 games. He's averaging 7 assists. Now, another stat, turnovers for Golden State. Golden State, they did have 20 turnovers in this game, but they also had 5 steals. When compared to Cleveland in game 2, they had 9 turnovers and or no, they had 15 turnovers and 1 steal. Now, I believe 9 turnovers and 15 steals. How the heck do you get that? Yeah, that's what it was. Whatever. Um, but they had 15 steals, 9 turnovers. That's a, but they still allowed 5 steals. So when it comes that, they're giving away and taking away. The problem is they're starting to break out about even here, or close to it. 20 and nothing plus, so it's 20. I'm not great at math. You know this. 29 turnovers to 15 steals. Where Golden State's almost the exact opposite on that number. Even when they had 20 turnovers, they still had 5 steals. So, what do you get from the takeaway to turnover ratio at this point for both teams?
Well, obviously it's going to be Golden State. For Golden State to take care of the ball, obviously when you have 20 turnovers, essentially you will not have a good game or even win the game by the large amount of points that they did. But for Cleveland, with those turnovers, you have to capitalize. You really have to capitalize. Starting with J.R. Smith, who had the whole game. Like you are a you are a piece to the Cavaliers. You should not have 0 points facing Golden State. Kyrie should be in the 20s range for points. And your bench is really your bench. Your bench is not showing up. Their productive is not showing up. And that is the problem. If you don't have a good bench, you will not beat Golden State.
Yeah, and let's go back to that. Let's start off with Kyrie Irving. Um, Kyrie had 19 points, but that's not the disturbing part. The part that's really telling that is that he had 19 points, but he shot 34%. He was 2 of 6 for 3, 33% there, 8 for 23 field goals, and to top it off, he had 4 rebounds and he only had 7 assists. So he's not getting assists the way he should. If he's not scoring and he's taking 23 shots, he's only passing the ball and he's only getting 7 assists. So if you don't have it that game, you have to, something's got to click in your head. Okay, I'm going to keep shooting, but I'm going to have to cut down the frequency I'm shooting, and I'm going to have to set some of these other guys up because I'm not hitting the shots the way I'm supposed to, the way I usually do. And when that happens, you're going to have a problem because you're shooting the way you normally do, and not the way you normally do, but in the frequency that you normally shoot, and then you're coming over here, but you're not passing the ball. And in that place, if you're not making shots, then you have to have an internal clock that says, okay, I've still got to shoot because I've still got to keep myself in the game. But I also have to become more of a facilitator. I've got to set these guys up. I've got to try to make it so that I'm, instead of shooting 9 for 23, I've got to shoot, or instead of shooting 8 for 23 on the game, I've got to shoot 8 for 17 on the game. Give me another 6 passes, maybe 5 or 6 assists. If I take 6 less shots, I get 5 more assists. That's 12 assists. 5 more assists, that's at least 10 more points. 10 more points, and it makes it an 11-point game. I might take 6 less shots, but I might get easier shots because they think I'm going to pass more. So you might end up going from let's say, so that's a 10-point swing. So that's a 9-point game. So you might get it within 5. Maybe you get it within 10 rather than almost 20 points. That changes the entire complexion of the game. If he has that internal clock that says that he has that enough ability to say, all right, guys, I'm not on 100%. I'm going to keep shooting because I have to keep myself in the game. I have to keep making myself a threat. But I'm not going to shoot as much. I'm going to pass more. You guys need to take it up. What do you think the outcome could have been if Irving had that in his mind that I'm going to set these guys up rather than keep on keeping on?
My thing is if Kyrie Irving would have done that, the possibility would be that Cavaliers would have had a better game. Um, just the overall play. If you look at the play for him, for Kyrie Irving, we know that he can score, but you have to be able to be a scorer and passer, especially in this league that we're in. And I would never knock Kyrie Irving for being a scorer, but you have to get your teammates involved. And for the Cavaliers, that bench has to be involved. Like you just can't win. Can't win when you're not involved. You really can't. And me looking at just the first half alone, as you can see, Golden State was only beating them by 3 points when the first half ended. It was only 67-64. So that first half, I think Cleveland done a great job maintaining, but also keeping up with Golden State. But once again, we got to the third quarter, and it was very different. Golden State scored 35 in the third quarter and was beating them. They outshot them by 11 points, and then, of course, fourth quarter was a closing moment, and they won. So when you look at that, I think Golden State has a better bench production. Golden State plays right now is playing better defense, and when you have those two with the four pieces that you do have, with a Draymond Green, with a Klay Thompson, a Steph Curry, and a Kevin Durant, I mean, it's very hard to be beaten like that. It's very hard to be beaten because if they play defense and they are having a better bench production and they are scoring over 120 points, you have to be ready to, lock them down. That's why you have to take the perimeter and play every angle with Golden State because they can use it. They have the pieces. They have the team that can win that championship, bar none. They have the team.
Yeah,
And
and
we're starting to see it come together. And that's like they kind of look like the old Spurs in '05, like. And like the way they're playing, the way they're passing the ball, sharing the ball,
yeah, it
it's
does
very
remind
unique.
me of a Greg Popovich type offense the way they're doing it. But if I'm not gonna say Kyrie Irving needed to stop shooting. That's out of the question. That would be stupid. But he did at some point because he also only finished 1 of 2 from the free throw line. If he's going to shoot at a full 23 shots, he can at least drive to the lane and get to the free throw line. It's like LeBron James. He had a terrible game one shooting. He was like 5 for 18 or something. But he lived on the free throw line. He lived driving to the hole because he wasn't shooting well. So that's something else that Irving could have done that could have helped Cleveland perform better in this game. And as you said, bench support. I want to go to bench performance real quick. You had, for Cleveland, you had Kyle Korver with 8. He was their leading scorer coming off the bench. Kyle Korver with 8 points. Richard Jefferson, 2 for 3 shooting, 7 points was next. Ian Shumpert, 6 points. Derek Williams, 5 points. Channing Frye. We have not heard anything good out of Channing Frye since he was with the Knicks 10 years ago. Okay? Channing Frye is the next leading scorer with 2 points. 1 of 5 shooting. What the hell is he even doing taking 5 shots? Okay? That is something that needs to be addressed. Then Dante Jones, 2 points. Then Darren Williams, James Jones, And J.R. Smith, as you point out, J.R. Smith didn't even score. J.R. Smith took 2 shots, where Channing Frye took 5 shots. How the hell is this a thing? Okay, so I'm looking at, it's not even bench play when you have Channing Frye playing 11 minutes, J.R. Smith only playing 13 minutes, Channing Frye taking 5 shots, J.R. Smith taking 2 shots. Okay, Channing Frye is he's been a nobody for a decade. He's been a low time, you know, garbage time big man who really doesn't do much, and he hasn't done much since he was a rookie. You know, that was his best year. And then you had J.R. Smith, who he played for the team. He was great for the team's leading scorer. Went away a couple years, came back, has been a staple of this team. He's only getting 2 more minutes than Channing Frye, and he's getting 3 less. That, to me, that is potentially, that's not even a player situation. That is a coaching situation. It's like, what the hell were they thinking? Because, we're talking about Kyrie Irving and his shooting. What would have happened if they would have got J.R. Smith driving the ball the way he usually does, drawing defense, and give Kyrie Irving better shots? What would have happened in that situation? I mean, you have to put your pieces in position to win. And I think, as much as anything, it may be coaching in the fact that and at least in game 1, the Cavs just got outplayed. In game 2, the coaching just seems, overall, that seemed to be the problem. And let's face it, I'm not going to knock Kyle Korver. I'm a Kyle Korver fan. I have been since he came into the league. He's a very good shooter. Yeah, he does his thing. He plays his role as well as anybody in the league, and he is extremely good at it. He goes in, he shoots, he takes pressure off the drivers. He does what he needs to do. But when you have J.R. Smith there, and you have that kind of what looks to be mismanagement just all around from the coaching when it comes to the bench, you have to look at what the hell they're doing. Because J.R. Smith, I mean, he's not just a shooting guard. He's a shooting guard. He can play small forward. I mean, he can play 2 positions. It's not like, he's going to be someone you have to stick at one spot. So, when it comes to game 1, execution. Cavs didn't have it. Game 2, J.R. Smith, he is what you mentioned earlier. J.R. Smith, I'm looking at it for the Cavs. He may have been the X factor because looking through this stuff, I'm seeing, what could Irving have done better? Well, he could have done some things better. But leaving Smith out of the equation, which is basically what the coaches did, may have hurt Irving more than it hurt anybody else on that team. And
one thing I do want to point out is Kevin Love showed up. He did what was needed. 27 points, 7 rebounds. When you have a LeBron who has 29, 14, 11, Kevin Love is giving you 27 points. They need, and it's not, they need Kyrie Irving for over 20 points. They need J.R. Smith at least 15. At least 15. But
Yeah,
the
and
problem with that is
if
that they got
Smith,
to get J.R. Smith hot early.
yeah, and if Smith gets his 15, then you have to look. Even if J.R. Smith gets 10 to 12, that opens up Kyrie Irving. Irving potentially gets at least 22 to 23 points, just a few more points. What does that? Right, that's a 16-point swing, 17-point swing. Oh, look at that, 17 points. That's 132 Golden State, 130 Cleveland. Well, that's an entirely different game. That just changes the entire strategy. So, what we're looking at here are things that could change the strategy from a Cleveland perspective. And this is, yeah, I know we spent a lot of time on Cleveland, but right now, Cleveland is the team that has the most issues because I'm going to be quite honest with you. Klay Thompson did almost nothing in game one, came up in game two, 22 points, did a great job. Kevin Durant has been the best player in the game, as I predicted he would be, the best player in this series. He has been the best player in the series. He's been the best player in the NBA. He's been the best player, period, since in the playoffs here in the finals, especially. And no matter how many people want to deny it, it is what it is. He's playing great defense. He's playing the game well. Stephen Curry, triple double. He played one of the better games of his career, in my opinion. And so when you get those two guys and you get Klay Thompson, Draymond Green's done practically nothing in the finals except for sit there and play good defense. He hasn't done anything offensively, and he hasn't needed to. Then you, but the funny thing is, you're getting bench play. Ian Clark, 10 points, 50% shooting. Sean Livingston, we haven't heard anything from him since he was a rookie with the Clippers. Hey, look at that. He's getting 10 points, 4 for 7 shooting. Yeah, he's getting a couple rebounds and assists. He's doing well. He's not the ball handler he used to be, but we can live with that. The young, he came out of high school. He can roll. Then you got old guys. Iguodala getting 5 points. He's 2 for 6 shooting, not doing that well there, but he's getting 3 rebounds and he's got 4 assists. Wow. Iguodala, of all people. David West. When was David West with the Timberwolves was the last time he was relevant? What's he doing in there? He's having a solid game. So, and this is what we're looking at here, is that they are coming in and Golden State is playing well. So we focus on Cleveland because Cleveland is not playing well. Cleveland is getting dominated. Cleveland has more to do to get back in this game and get back in the series because these guys just aren't getting it done the way they need to get it done. And a lot of it I'm looking at has to do with coaching. And that's something that cannot be emphasized enough.
I can tell you like this, man. Um, if the pressure is on Cleveland, Game 3, Game 4, the pressure is on Cleveland. If Cleveland does not win Game 3 in their home, they might get swept. And the last thing any team would want to see, and any fan of basketball, not just the fan of a team, the fan of the sport, you don't want to see a sweep in the finals. You don't want to see a sweep in the finals.
No.
That's just what you don't want to see.
Yeah, and we're going to leave off at that. We will be back here. We will be back to to go over some more games here in a couple days, and we will see if Cleveland can come back from this major issue and this major problem they're having at the moment with Golden State. Can they stop Kevin Durant? Can they do what needs to be done to fix their issues and get back in the series? For Trumaine Jenkins, I am Joseph Potter. This has been the Hardwood. Thank you and have a nice night. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, like, and support the channel. We appreciate you and have a nice night.